My childhood was one that was completely absent of Sega. We never had any Sega consoles at all growing up, and no one around us really had one either. We pretty much strictly had Nintendo consoles for the longest time, until the 2000s when we finally branched out to Sony. So I missed out on a lot, pretty much the entirety of the Sonic games. Now mind you, I had played Sonic briefly over a friend's house once or twice in my life, but it was never more than one level. So with that said, my introduction to the actual Sonic games was actually on the GameCube. Sonic Adventure 2 Battle to be precise, which will probably make a few of you shudder. But hey, I enjoy the game. I absolutely loved the Child Garden, and I replayed the game over and over. But I digress, because even though I played the Sega title a ton, it certainly didn't rival the amount of time I spent on my next Sega installment. And this next game is actually the one we're going to be talking about today. Now before diving into this, the thing that I'm going to be covering today is actually something that no one else has documented online. Surprisingly, I wasn't able to find anything about it. Nothing on forums, the cutting room floor, etc. Mysteries like these are the ones I absolutely love because I feel like I'm able to contribute something that many people overlooked. Similar to when I covered the invisible bridge I discovered in Bomberman 64. For around 16 years, this has remained a mystery with many players walking all over it and not even realizing it. So let's turn back the clock to a time that Sonic could be found plowing through dungeons, slaying all who cross his path. The year is 2002. The Nintendo GameCube was still in its infancy, and many of us had no idea that a monumental RPG title would be ported over to the platform. A title from the Dreamcast known as Phantasy Star Online made its way over to the GameCube, and forever changed online gaming for a lot of us. Now I know some of you might be thinking right now, but Swanky, I thought you said this mystery was focused around the GameCube. This is a Dreamcast game, and you're absolutely right. But the release on the GameCube offered an included sequel to the game that wasn't present on the Dreamcast. Phantasy Star Online, Episode 1 and 2 was just that. The first game and its sequel put onto one disc. The first game featured the iconic levels and story that people fell in love with on the Dreamcast, while Episode 2 was more of a wild card in my eyes. The levels were more expansive and intricate in design, and overall the atmosphere of Episode 2 was amazing. It was definitely my favorite of the two, and after completing the game, I'd often dabble in Episode 2 with friends online just chilling there. Of course, hacking certainly took over the games at a certain point through Action Replay, and thus you'd run into people playing as Sonic or other characters who would one-hit you in PvP. The games officially reached a breaking point where money became pointless because of item duplication glitches and the ability to modify your character stats because they were kept on your memory card. They certainly resulted in some funny fights, but ultimately the economy of the game crashed. Now that the stage is set, for those of you who may have not played the game, we're going to swing on over to Episode 2 now. Episode 2 was divided into 4 areas, and the third area is the one we'll actually be talking about, Galdevel Island, which may sound familiar to some of you because I did a pixel portal on it a while back. I highly recommend checking it out, as I did a documentary about this entire level. Anyways, upon teleporting down to the surface of the planet, you were immediately spawned into an area called the Control Center. And this is where that mysterious message is actually written. Now, at first glance, you might not see it at all, but it's actually on the floor below us, repeated over and over again. It's included on certain floor tiles in the upper corner, and anyone walking through here would have just assumed it was a design element on the metal floor. But it's not one at all. And the reason this has gone unnoticed for so long is because when this was released on the GameCube, textures and visuals within the game were output as standard definition. Any graphics in the game were output at a lossy resolution, so it could be played on the GameCube. Think of it like watching a video online, where you have different quality options. Watching something at 1080p is clear, whereas if you watch it at 360p or 480p, things look a little muddy and are not clear. With Phantasy Star Online, this text on the graphic didn't look like text and more so looked like a stylized glare on the metal floor. Players would run over it without thinking about it because they had a fixed camera angle and it would just get lost in the background. Beyond that, by the time Blue Burst rolled out, which was the PC version of this game with another set of levels, I think people simply were used to this area. They've seen it hundreds of times from grinding it out, so the backgrounds were already burned into their minds despite the improved resolution. So that's what makes this so amazing. It was hiding in plain sight all this time, but no one ever acknowledged it, and it's tiled all over the place, even in inaccessible areas. If we boot up a FreeCam, we can see it's everywhere on this dam, even the tiles within the modeled tower areas, which were accessible through online quests. But at this point, I bet you're wondering what the message says, and I really don't know. Let's take a closer look at it so you can see for yourself. The message is 3 lines long and consists of 9 to 10 words. It's hard to tell if the first large word is 1 or 2 words though. By the looks of it, it looks like it's written with the English alphabet. To me, it doesn't look like this is written in Japanese characters, but I could be wrong. So if we assume it's English, then that means this was added by someone who is working on translations for the game. Mainly someone who is working with textures. When the game was released in English, lots of the internal graphics had to be changed so that they represented the spoken language. The only people who could have edited this would probably have been on the graphics team, which sort of limits our options a bit on what it could mean. The most logical meaning was probably that it was a note to another developer, because the way it's tiled across the map makes it look like it's a mistake. But it's so hard to make out what it actually says, because the texture it's included on is only 256 by 256 pixels. And to make things more complicated, the message is actually only 35 by 17 pixels in size, meaning zooming in is impossible. But to turn up the difficulty yet again, we have one element we haven't addressed yet. While this looks like it is the English alphabet to me, it could also be Phantasy Star's own character set that is based off the English alphabet. If we turn back to the Book of Hunters, one of the 2 books that was released during the life of the games, we are actually able to break down what the alphabet translates to. All the different shopping signs and even the summoning rings in the games have these characters and contain messages/phrases. In the PSO subreddit, user Garbaccio Otako recently translated this page from Japanese to English, which breaks down the alphabet fully. So based on the resolution, it's hard to tell if we're dealing with English or the Phantasy Star symbol set. Overall though, this small, simple 3-line message has bugged me for years. Part of me wishes I could track down the design team to see if I could trace the message back to its roots. But then again, I'd imagine it'd probably be pretty difficult. The creator of it may have very well forgotten what it was as well. But I figured I'd share with all of you, so perhaps you can take your own shot at cracking it. At first glance, does anything come to mind? Can you make out any words or phrases? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, because I certainly look forward to reading them. If you're interested in some more Sega goodness, I'll be releasing a pretty neat video on Sonic Adventure 2 on my second channel. Ever wonder what would happen if characters in the game were forced to complete other characters' levels? Some funny things occur. I'll toss a link for the video once it's out at the end of this one. There's also a ton of other gaming discoveries and challenges as well over on SwankyBox Live, so I hope you enjoy. And with that, thanks for tuning in to this cryptic breakdown. Perhaps you'll enjoy some of these other videos. Thanks for watching, guys and gals, and until my next video, cheers.